Yeah, welcome back to this lecture 12. And today we are going to discuss supremum, infimum, and their connection with maximum and minimum. And then we would be in a position to take up Weierstrass theorem, for which I have been like laying the foundation for such a long time. So let's begin with supremum. So, supremum of a set X, okay, there is a set X, it is a subset of real numbers, non-empty, all right. We say the supremum of this set X is a Y smallest scalar Y such that Y is greater than or equal to X for all X in this set S. So in other words, it is the least upper bound on set X. Okay. So let me take a concrete example. Let's say I have a set X as a closed interval from 1 to 2. Now, what is the supremum of X? Supremum of set X is 2. Why? Because if you picture this on on a real line, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is this thing. So if you take a y here, it is an upper bound on this all of x in the set X. If you take a y here also, this is also an upper bound on this set X, all the elements of the set X. And so I keep on tightening this upper bound, reducing it until I make it least, and that least upper bound will turn out to be 2. So therefore the supremum is 2. Now let us take x to be equal to open set 1 comma 2, for example, and I want to know the supremum of this. So again the method is same. I'll start with this. This is an upper bound. Tighten it up. Yes, this is also an upper bound. Tighten it up until you will reach 2, which will become again the least upper bound. And so supremum of this set X is also 2 only. If you do anything 2 minus epsilon, that is not an upper bound, because 2 minus epsilon plus epsilon by 2, which is 2 minus epsilon by 2, it belongs to set X and is larger than what you thought was an upper bound. So whether it is a closed set like this 1 comma 2 or a open set like this 1 comma 2, both of them have supremum 2. Now if I take a set like this, let's say 1 on this and unbounded on this side, it can go up to infinity. So my set X is, let's say, this or this. Then what is the least upper bound? In some sense it is infinity only. So for such a set we will say that its supremum is infinity. Now in the same way we can define infimum. All right. So how will I define an infimum? Let X be a subset of R. Let X be non-empty. Then infimum of X, also known as greatest lower bound, or GLB, is that scalar Y such that it is largest. So it is the largest scalar y such that y is always less than or equal to x for all x in x. So that means I am going to push up this y, the lower limit, up as much as possible until it is a lower limit. But I can't push it any further because then it won't be a lower limit anymore. So it is the greatest lower bound. So again, let's take that same example. Open interval 1 comma 2, closed interval 1 comma 2. In both the cases, infimum of x will be 1. Why? Because this is a lower bound. So tighten it up further, increase it. So this is also a lower bound. Increase it until you reach 1. Once you reach 1, anything you push further, then it is not a lower bound anymore because this number is lesser than this particular number. So therefore, even if this is an open set, the infimum is 1. In this case, 1 is a part of the set X and is an infimum. Both have same infimum 1. In ones, it is a part of set X. In other case, it is not a part of set X. Now what happens if I allow it to go on the minus infinity here, and let's say restrict this to 2. I will say that, so this is unbounded below. We'll say that this is unbounded below. In this case, the infimum of x will be minus infinity. Now the last thing is a notational thing, because I said let x be a non-empty set. So what are the infimum and supremum of an empty set? By convention, and this is just by convention, all right, nothing great about it. By convention, I say that infimum of empty set phi is plus infinity and supremum is minus infinity. So what it means is it's just the other way around. This is just to avoid any confusion with unbounded sets. You know, this convention is used to avoid any confusion with the unbounded sets. All we are saying is that if infimum is plus infinity and supremum is minus infinity, surely means the set is empty. No non-empty set will exhibit such a characteristic. Now where does infimum and supremum come into play while discussing optimization? So what is the role of infimum and supremum in optimization? Okay, so uh, uh, I bring you to the following simple nice examples. Let us say that to begin with I have a problem. Let us say maximize f of x is equal to 1 minus e to the power minus x subject to x greater than 0. So if you sketch it up, greater than or equal to 0. So you sketch it up. This function is going to look like this. And where is it trying to go? It is trying to go to 1. Limit extending to infinity, f of x goes to 1. Now, what is this? This is actually the supremum of f of x, x greater than or equal to 0. But is it maximum? Technically, no. Very important. Technically, no. Why? Because no x star in the set S, this is my set S, in the set S achieves the value of 1, which is the supremum. So the point that I am trying to say is that while supremums will always exist, supremum will always exist, a max need not. Similarly with infimum, okay? So let us take this problem, another nice problem. I have f of x is equal to e to the power minus x. Again the set S is set of all x such that x is greater than or equal to 0. And I want to say, let's say, my question is, have I posed this problem correctly? So again, if you plot this, in infimum is infimum of this is simply 0 because you can go to 0. But minimum of fx is not 0 because no x achieves it. Is it not? So again, the infimum always exists, but minimum need not. Minimum need not. So therefore, we use a specific terminology called uh, we use a specific terminology or a notation, that is that we say that if x be a if x is a non-empty subset of Rn and f is a real valued function whose domain is x, whose domain contains x, we say that vector x star, vector because it's in Rn, so vector x star in x is a minimum of f over x if f of x of star is equal to infimum of x in x of x of star. We call x star a minimizing point or a minimizer or a minimum of f over x. So what I mean to say is, I write this as x star is the argument of the minimizer of f of x, x in x, and with some abuse of notation, if it is unique, I write x star is equal to f of x of x. Say for example that I have a function f of x equal to x square and I restrict the set from -1 to +1. So I want to do this subject to x between -1 to +1. Then clearly the infimum is 0 and it is achieved at x equal to 0, which is a part of my set S, in this case this interval -1 to +1. So then I will say that 0 is equal, in fact I will say that 0 is equal to argument of the minimum of x square, where x comes from -1 to +1. Equal to indicates that it is also unique. Non-equal to means there can be multiple of it. Now, just the last one small point that I want to mention before I move forward is that these supremums and infimums, supremum relates to, closely associates with global maximum kind of a thing, means, and the infimums relate to, in some sense, a global minimum kind of a thing. We are not looking at, these are the least upper bound and the greatest lower bound over the complete set. So they don't have any local properties, they have a global property. All right. Now we are in a position to take up Weierstrass theorem. So finally, we are in a position now to discuss the Weierstrass theorem. So the problem really is now, for example, if we are talking of minimization, then the problem really that we are now discussing is, can the infimum be translated to minimum? In other words, if I am looking at infimum of f of x coming from set S, can I say that this is same as minimum f of x coming from set S? Or in other words, the question is there an x star in set S which achieves this minimum? That is the, which achieves this infimum. That is the question that we want to ask. If there are multiple number of x star, we usually write like x star belongs to arg min of f of x, and if is only one unique x star, then we say that it is equal to arg min of f of x. We discussed this earlier. So to understand the concept here, let us take three specific conditions of the non-existence of a minimal solution. So I have some function f of x here. Let us say the function is like this, okay, and I keep this interval open, a and b. I consider this as an open interval. So you can see that I can keep on reducing the function by going in this direction, and if I call this as f of b and this is f of a, because I have defined f on a real line, let's say, so then the infimum is f of b, but it cannot be realized. Why can't it be realized? Because b does not belong to the set S. This is my set S, this open interval S, and I am looking at the function, I am looking at this particular problem, and I am trying to see if instead of this, instead of writing this thing as infimum here, can I write it as minimum here? That's the question that I am trying to understand. Is there a solution to this problem? There's the x star, a feasible x star achieve the infimum. So no feasible x star will achieve this infimum, correct? Now let me take another possibility. What I have got here is that the function is the same. I will close this interval. Now I will avoid this problem of open interval. I'll close this so that I can achieve f of b. But I define f of b as the following. I have changed the function. Now this is my f of b. So this, whatever this was here, okay, this is now infimum of f of x coming from the closed interval a comma b. But can I achieve it? I cannot achieve it. What's the problem here? A discontinuity. The problem here is discontinuity. What was the problem here? The set was open. So now let's take one third possibility, that I have this f of x here, and I keep it unbounded. So everything on right side is feasible, and the function goes like this. So then what happens to infimum? It goes to minus infinity. And is there any x? Is there any x which realizes it? The answer is no. There is no x which realizes it. No x can realize minus infinity. So if I eliminate these three possibilities, that the set S from which we are optimizing is open, so we will make it closed, and we will avoid this set as being unbounded, so we will make it bounded, and we will force the function to be continuous. So if I get rid of these three conditions, then what happens is that I can guarantee that I have a minimum, and that's exactly what the Weierstrass theorem is. So I am taking the statement from Bazara, Sherali and Shetty. There are many different statements. Dimitri Berdsikas has another way of putting it. I'm taking this simple statement. Let S be a non-empty compact set. By compact set, what do I mean? I mean closed and bounded. Closed and bounded. And let f be a function from S to R. Usually our S itself is in Rn, right? Then the problem minimize f of x coming from set S attains its minimum, that is, there exists a minimizing solution to this problem. This is exactly what the what Weierstrass theorem says. So function is continuity. So it cannot jump up as you are reaching the minimum. That's what it says. The set is closed. So we avoid this open interval. The set is closed, and it is also bounded. We avoid unbounded. If we force these three things, then what it says is that your problem will achieve minimum. So this is actually a, if you look at it, this is actually a sufficiency condition on existence of minimum, and the minimum that we are talking of here is actually a global minimum, since no arguments of calculus are used. So these are two important things. So for example, let's say, take a very simple thing, fx equal to x square x coming from R. Okay. So in this particular case, you know that if f of 0 is the global minimum, but R, the set R which I have taken, is not bounded. Is it not? It is not bounded. So Weierstrass theorem is not applicable, yet the global minimum does exist. So it's very clear that if Weierstrass theorem is not applicable, you cannot say that there is no minimum. All I mean to say is that if Weierstrass theorem is applicable, if the conditions of Weierstrass theorem are satisfied, then with confidence you can say that there exists a minimum. If it is not applicable, you have to you have to evaluate that specific thing yourself. For example, while f of x equal to x square has a minimum, f of x equal to x cube does not have a minimum. F of x, which is x cube, goes to minus infinity as x goes to minus infinity. So here the unboundedness creates a problem. Here the unbounded in the fx is equal to x square, the unboundedness does not create a problem. So that's the Weierstrass theorem in the nutshell.